Oh, there we go. Thank you. I just need that there. This is there. Alrighty. All right, hello everybody. Back to another Beta Alpha Psi meeting. Today we have Mary Patterson here from IMA, the Institute of Management Accountants, to come and speak to us today about IMA and also to teach us more about the CMA designation. So please ask a lot of questions. And yeah, Mary, I'll let you take it away from here.
Thank you so much, Jack, and thank you for inviting me to speak to your organization. I know how important Beta Alpha Psi is. I know a lot of you, especially if you're in your senior year, it's spring semester, life is about to get real in the next couple months, so you're thinking about those next steps. One thing that I wanted to give you is my contact information. So I've been working with accounting and finance students for well over a decade. I love to get connected with students because I love to see how your career progresses once you leave your institution. So number one, connect with me on LinkedIn, but also if you do have questions, maybe something occurs to you 2 or 3 days from now, 2 months from now, please feel free and feel that you're able to email me or ask me any of those questions that you might have. So a little bit, I know Beta Alpha Psi, you're usually focused on the CPA, but I thought I would talk to you just a little bit more about, what is the difference between management accounting and public accounting? So on this slide, this just kind of gives you a snapshot of what the difference is. So if you look at that green box with public accounting, that is someone that works for a public accounting firm. So we all know the big four: KPMG, PwC, EY, who am I forgetting? Deloitte. So those are all of your public accounting firms. And when you are an accountant working inside of a public accounting firm, you're usually doing some audit or tax work. And you are working with different clients to make sure that they are in compliance with all the different rules and regulations that affect the accounting and finance world. And that is when the relevant certification of the CPA comes into play. What I'm going to talk about today is management accounting and accountants that work inside of an organization. So they're not necessarily measuring if a company is doing well, they're helping to create that value within a company. So they're developing plans for that company, managing budgets for companies, looking at different reports and figuring out, okay, what's the next decision that we should make for our company that's going to take us into the next quarter, next year, next 5 or 10 years. So when you talk about a management accountant, they're someone that's actually creating that value within an organization. And a relevant certification for a management accountant is the CMA. So where do actually CMA or management accountants work? Essentially, they work everywhere. But some titles that you might think of when you think of a management accountant, we have VP of Finance, Finance Manager, Controller, CFO. But then you also have other positions that are available, such as an accounting analyst, a budget analyst, a cost analyst. So these are all different titles that will occur inside of an organization. And what are you doing when you're a management accountant? A lot of what you do is planning for the long term. You are working for that company. You are trying to figure out, okay, this is where we're at right now in this snapshot. Where do we want our company to be 5, 10, 15 years from now? How are we going to get there? So you're helping to execute budgets and look at forecasting. You're also looking at maintaining internal controls, making sure that everything that you're doing within this company, it all makes sense. Do you have separation of duties happening? So that all, believe it or not, falls under that management accountant, about making those decisions and really looking at that business from a strategic planning standpoint. Where do management accountants work? I already said this already, but they work essentially everywhere. So nonprofit organizations, multinational corporations, academic institutions. So even at your college, there are management accountants who are making decisions about your institution. So what are they looking at? How is the enrollment going? Is enrollment up? Is it down? Do we need to raise tuition to meet the needs of anything that's happening within the university? Is there a dormitory that needs to be completely renovated? Where are we going to get the funds from that? So these are all of those decisions that management accountants make. What I want you to take away from it is that management accountants are needed in every type of business and organization. I also like to show this slide because it says 75% of accounting and finance professionals in the US work inside organizations. And I show you this slide because I do know with Beta Alpha Psi, there's probably a handful of you or a lot of you that already have job offers to work as a public accountant. But what I want to say to you is, I talk with students that have their internships, and sometimes they come to me and say, "Whoa, that is not for me." And I tell them that's okay. Get your background in it. But chances are you're going to transition out of public accounting at some point in your career. And 75% of all accounting and finance professionals actually do not work in public accounting. They work as management accountants. So a lot of times what will happen is you're working for a public accounting firm for maybe 2 years. You are working with a client or a customer, making sure that they're in compliance. And then all of a sudden they pick up the phone and say, "Hey, we have an opportunity, we have an opening, we need someone to manage our financials inside of our company. Would you be willing to come over and do that? Or we're looking for a new CFO. We like what you've done here. Do you want to come over to our side and work with that?" So don't be surprised. And I know, especially when you're an accounting student and thinking about the future, there's a long way to go with having that background in accounting and finance. And there's a lot of different ways that you can take your career. I get questions from a lot of students, especially with AI growing and robotic process automation. And I have a lot of students that ask me, like, well, is accounting even going to be around, or is everything going to be done by a computer? Yes, accounting is going to be around. It is not going to go anywhere. We still need humans to make decisions. One thing that I tell students is, if anything, you are in a better position for all of this technology, for the technology changing and everything moving at a fast pace. You're actually in a better position than someone who has been working for about 20 years. All of this new stuff that is happening, that puts fear in people that have been working and they're not used to these new processes. But you as students, you're used to gaining this information, embracing it, using the technology to make you more efficient. And trust me, the more that you can do that, the more that you can show your adaptability to the technology and different things that are happening in the industry, the better off you're going to be. So it's not very often that I get to tell you you're doing better than someone that's been working for 20 some years. But in this case, when it comes to technology, you definitely are. So where do management accountants work? Everywhere. So these are companies that you recognize. They can be technology companies like Apple, Google, Dell, pharmaceutical companies like Johnson & Johnson. We even have management accountants that work at public accounting firms. They actually say, as someone that works even in audit, it's really neat to have that skill set that knows what that business is looking to accomplish. And I can look at it from kind of a bird's eye view and be an advisor to that client. So wanted to show you just a couple profiles of management accountants and what they do that's unique to their position. So this is Diane Isabor. She is a senior financial analyst focusing on supply chain. So she works for Johnson & Johnson. One of her recommendations with the CMA, which I will talk about, is to take the CMA or get the CMA scholarship and take it while you are still in school. But I don't like to read these slides because I figure you can read a little bit more about them. But the other one that I want to show you is Michael Kelly. So Michael also works for a very recognizable company. It is Nike. but he is a global operations manager. And what I like about these two profiles is look at Diane. So she's a senior financial analyst, and Michael is a global operations manager. He has both a CPA and a CMA. Maybe as students, and you're looking at your classes and at your textbooks, you're not realizing what there is for you as a student in accounting and finance. So you could be doing global operations for Nike. I know someone who helped create, as an accountant, the Disney Plus platform. So again, these are just certain things, but by you having that skill set and showing that you understand that, it really can take your career wherever you want to go. So I'm going to explain just quickly what IMA is. Probably should have started with that, but that's okay. IMA is the Institute of Management Accountants. We are a global network of around 140,000 members worldwide, with 300 student and professional chapters. We have 3 globally recognized certifications: the FMAA, which is brand new starting this year, the CMA, and the CSCA. I wanted to kind of tell you about these different certifications because I think it's helpful to have that information. The FMAA, this is definitely something you as students could do, and you could pass it with flying colors. And it is a certification that covers all of the courses, and I'm going to show you a couple more slides about it. But everything that you have been learning in accounting and finance, or especially your accounting courses, has prepared you to sit and take this FMAA. I highly suggest it to students, especially if you have completed your sophomore year. I think by that point, you are ready to sit for that exam and to already show that you have a certification while you're still in school, while you're just a sophomore. That is really going to kickstart your career within accounting and finance. And then we also have the CMA and then the CSCA. I'll get into the details about that a little bit later, but I still just want to talk about IMA in general. We have student membership benefits. So the thing that I like about IMA, I said this on the last slide, we're a global organization, 140,000 members all over the world. I know when I was in college, and you'll hear this throughout your career, networking is the most important part of your job. I remember being in your seats and thinking, okay, but I'm in college. Who am I networking with? Like, how am I going to meet these different people? That's where organizations like IMA comes in. I wish I would have known about it when I was a student. And it's really neat to think that as a student, you can be a member of IMA the same way a CEO of US Steel is a member of IMA. You get the same benefits as them. Actually, as a student member, you get more benefits. We have leadership experiences available. So Jack is one of our student ambassadors. We have tons of competitions and scholarships that are available to students and different events that you can do. 2 courses that I want to make students aware of. So I already talked about how you as students should embrace technology. We have 2 courses, the IMA Data Analytics and Visualization Fundamentals Certificate and the IMA RPA series. Both of these courses are intended for professionals working in accounting and finance. But after looking at these courses, talking with different professors, we found that students really could benefit from these courses. Now, do we want to make a student pay close to $400 to take this course? No, you're already paying for college. So we decided to make these free for our student members. Both of them come with a digital badge. Once you complete them, you can put it on your LinkedIn. And again, this is just another way to differentiate yourself. And the fact that it is so specific, I mean, robotic process automation. You could talk about that you decided to take this extra class. It's a 2-hour class while you're in an interview. And believe me, that recruiter is going to be blown away because chances are they don't even know what RPA is. Same thing with data analytics. I mean, everything moving forward is all about data analytics, all about collecting that information. This is a way to show that you've already started that process to learn this skill set. All right, so I just want to let you know that those two courses are free for our student members. I'm going to get into what the CMA is. So that's really the thing that IMA is known for. The CMA is a globally recognized professional certification in management accounting that focuses on the advanced skills in accounting and financial management, such as financial planning, analysis, control, and decision support. So when you are a CMA, people know that you are able to explain the why behind the numbers of an organization. You're able to help make those decisions and guide the CEO on what they should do for their business. This is what the CMA structure looks like. I'm not going to go into great detail with it, just a couple things to know. The CMA exam, different from the CPA, which you probably know a lot about. The CMA is two parts. The first part is financial planning, performance, and analytics. And look at what is tested on part one. So cost management, performance management, internal controls, external financial reporting decisions. These are all things that you're covering in your courses right now. Now, do I think as a student that you can just jump in and take the exam without studying? No, not necessarily. The FMAA, I do think you could do that. But what I want to show you with this is it's testing you on everything that you've already been learning. Part two with the strategic financial management, this is going to be more of your finance side of the CMA exam. So you have your corporate finance, financial statement analysis, some investment decisions. What I like about the CMA is if you are just a purely accounting student, this kind of brings in that financial side that maybe you didn't have those courses, but it opens up your ability to apply for jobs that have finance in the title, because you're getting that with the CMA exam. Each exam is 4 hours long. There are 100 multiple choice questions for each section, part one and part two, and they both have two 30-minute essay scenarios. You can take either part in order. If you say, hey, I just want to start with the finance part of the exam, I'll start with part two, and then I'll go into part one. But usually my accountants start with part one because that's the information that you know. I always show this, the difference is in the numbers. Why do we talk about these certifications? Why should you get them? Truth be told, the answer is money. Once you get these certifications, it opens up more opportunities for you to get promoted, more management positions, positions at larger companies that are going to pay you more. That's why you get these certifications. You put those letters next to your name on LinkedIn. You put them in your resume. Those computers that sort through your resumes and try to pull out those keywords, that's why you get these certifications. But the other thing that I think is more impactful, and we do this study every few years, and the 2023 study showed that 75% of CMAs love their job. Can't say that about a lot of other positions, but CMAs truly, you're in accounting, you're in finance, but you're doing things to actually create value for a company or an organization. And anytime I've talked with CMAs, that's what they love about it, or they love that they work for a manufacturing company and they're helping to figure out the pricing, but there's an actual product that's being made, and the decisions that they make as a contributor to that company is affecting that product and how it's going to go to market. So I think that, money's great, but in a way, hearing that CMAs love their job, that's more great to me. Here are just some young professionals that have the CMA and what they've said about it. I like to point out Adam Milano. I've got to meet Adam. I think he is great. He's based in Chicago. I like to point him out because he's a CMA, he's also a CPA, and he works for Deloitte. Even though he's in advisory, and I kind of mentioned what he said earlier, but he loves being a CMA because everyone around him at Deloitte, they all have their CPA. But he's told me, he said, I keep getting pulled into these really neat projects because of my CMA. And I also like when I'm doing my advisory role, I understand what the companies want to accomplish. So I kind of have that side of my brain working as well. So it really helps me to stand out. And then I also like to show Fatima. Fatima is actually from Egypt. So again, we are a global organization. The CMA is recognized globally. And before she worked for Unilever, she actually worked for Land Rover, doing some data analytics with their automobiles. So just different things that you might not think of when you get your CMA. So how do you get your CMA? The completion of the 2 exams. You do need to have a bachelor's degree, but here's the neat thing about the CMA. You can actually sit for the CMA before you graduate. So I have a lot of students that will sit for the CMA, depending on what classes they're taking, sometimes after their junior year, before their senior year, or I have students that are in their senior year. Once the fall semester is over, they'll take part 1, they'll go through all their spring semester courses and then jump right into part 2. And then sometimes they're also on the CPA track, and that just jumps them right into studying for the CPA. They have everything done in a matter of about 18 months. So just some things to think about. And then eventually you do need to have your 2 years of relevant work experience, which you will get once you start working. Here are the exam testing windows for the CMA. They are administered at Prometric testing centers. And this is the cost of the CMA exam. So like I said, you do need to be an IMA member. I have a coupon code. If even just saying, hey, I don't know if I want to get the CMA, but I really think I want to take those courses. Use that coupon code. It's STU25 for $25. And you can become a member of IMA. And then here are the costs of the entrance fee and sitting for the CMA. One thing I will tell you, save all your receipts when you go through this, because chances are when you are hired by a particular company and you say, hey, I already went through the CMA as a student, maybe they'll give you a bonus, or they actually might reimburse you for any cost that you put into the CMA. But what I think is even better is we have the CMA scholarship program. 5 students, and I think we have about 8 people on the call here, but at least 5 students, I can go up to 10 from Farley Dickinson, can get the CMA scholarship. And Jack can talk to you more about this and help you with it, but all you have to do is be nominated by a professor. That professor then sends in a nomination form with your information on it, and you get the scholarship. So everything that I just showed you on this slide is covered for you. So you can take the CMA exam at no cost. One thing I do want to tell you, I'm not sure if the scholarship program is going to continue after June. So if you're really even thinking about the CMA, even if you're a sophomore or a junior, the scholarship is good for 3 years. I would recommend trying to get that scholarship this academic year, okay? I quickly just want to go, because I talked about the FMAA, so I just want to go over it. So this is a new certification. The FMA is more of a fundamental knowledge and competencies in accounting and finance, and it allows students and professionals to showcase their expertise to employers and build a foundation to expand their skills. So this certification was developed to address market needs. So based on what we found out from the accounting and finance market, we said, okay, there needs to be more of a foundational certification that either very young professionals or very good students can show that they have this knowledge. So what it's going to cover is general accounting and financial management. So there's going to be accounting terms that you're familiar with: debits, credits, T accounts, adjusting entries, statement of cash flows, cash management, inventory management, all the stuff that all of you know. There's a little bit of financial statement and preparation analysis where you have to assess the liability valuation, basic financial statement analysis, and profitability ratios. It also goes into planning and budgeting concepts and methodologies, cost management, performance metrics, and a little bit of professional ethics. So you can see what's covered on here. This probably more so than the CMA, you're very familiar with. So this is where I would say, if you're looking for a certification even to do right now, maybe you're not sure about the CMA, if you really want to do that, the FMAA is something you could definitely knock out this summer. Who is it for? Four-year college students, I would say definitely go for it. It's just another way of really showing on your resume what you are doing for accounting and finance. So let's go into this. So why would you want to get the FMA certification? So it demonstrates that early career professionals or students have the foundational and relevant knowledge to speak the global language of business, accounting, and finance. This ensures that they can launch their careers with impact and make a positive change in their organizations. What I think more than anything by getting the FMA certification, it's that first bullet point, gaining confidence. You're able to show that you speak the global language of business and you are able to demonstrate your proficiency in the fundamentals of accounting and finance. It's able to demonstrate your skill set, that you're able to apply managerial accounting and finance principles to real life situations. And it's going to help you advance your career and stand out from your peers. This is what the FFAA certification looks like. It's much more palatable than the CMA. So it is only a 2-hour exam, 80 multiple choice questions. There are no eligibility requirements. So you don't have to be an IMA member. You don't have to necessarily get your bachelor's degree. I know you're going to anyhow. The approximate study time for the FMAA is 50 hours. That being said, knowing what you are studying right now in school, I would say it's probably less than that because you're in the process of learning all of this information. The cost of the exam for the March testing window is $249. I think it will go up to $299. But that's it. There's no other extra sitting fees or entrance fees. So I know I always hate to talk to college students about paying for things, but for let's say $300 to be able to get a certification within the industry that you want to work, it's not the worst place that you could spend your money, put it that way. You will have to keep up with your ethics and CPE, but that would come after you pass the exam. Questions that I get about this FMAA, since it is so new, there are going to be testing windows. The first one is going to be in March. The next one, we do not know for certain. We're hoping there's going to be another testing window in the summer months. I think that will perform really well with students. But then by January of 2025, the exam is going to be on demand. So whenever you're ready to take the exam, you can sit for it. So I think that'll be very beneficial. Are there any questions about either the CMA or FMAA before I move on to student events?
Anyone on Zoom? Anyone?
I don't see anything coming through.
I could talk about, the CMA scholarship, just to
Yeah.
go off more in depth what Mary said. So obviously I am a CMA scholarship recipient. I always tell the story every time IMA comes in to speak. So I remember, I think it was my freshman year, I went to this IMA event. I think it was, I forget what the name was, but I remember it was like learning more about IMA, and I said to myself, what is IMA? I never heard of it. So when I went to the event, I saw a good friend of mine who actually is the head of our accounting department here, Professor Ron West. I did hear about the CMA scholarship. I said, you know what, I want to broaden myself more in the accounting world, get dual certified CPA, CMA. And I asked him, if I could be nominated for this. And the funny thing that actually happened was I was originally nominated for it, and then they told me, sophomore, juniors usually get it. If you want to do it, you can hold it for you when we get there. I said, okay. And then he emailed me a week later saying, oh, one person dropped out. If you want to take it, it's all yours. And I'm like, yeah. So I said, absolutely, I'll take it. It's always a funny story, but, obviously I think to get that scholarship, it is worth your while, just to get dual certified. It makes yourself stand out more. You get the 3 years of IMA membership. You get both your entrance fees for the CMA exam. They're waived off the first time around. I definitely think it's worth your while. And not only that, some of the webinars you guys do for the IMA, you actually carry that over to like the NJCPA. You actually carry that over as well. So that's what I've done. But yeah, I definitely think you should really take the time, maybe think about it a little bit. Maybe, if you want to apply, that's one of your accounting or finance professors for nomination.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Jack. And again, if you do have questions, you can email me as well, and I'll help you out with that. So the other thing I talked about with IMA is we do a lot of student events. One event that we have that has really gained some popularity is our student series. So this is going to be on February 28th at 7 p.m. It will be recorded, so even if you can't make it at that time. But what we do is it is a panel event. So we get 4 different panelists. And this year we have someone from J&J MedTech, someone from iSpot TV, which they do a lot with technology within the television space, Bechdel Dickinson, and Habitat for Humanity. So 4 very different accounting people that are working. They are all young professionals. So if you're kind of wondering more like, okay, maybe this management accounting thing is kind of interesting to me, it's piquing my interest, what I recommend is attending this event and hearing about their careers, why they decided to get their CMA. Some have CMA plus CPA. What do they do daily that uses their skill set? And also, we do it on Zoom. You're able to even type in questions while we're doing this presentation. So there is a QR code for that, and I'll email Jack the registration link, but you're able to register right from that QR code. I definitely think it is one of the most beneficial presentations for students because you're hearing from 4 different people at once. I know as Beta Alpha Psi, you always hear from public accountants a lot. This is a chance to hear from different people. So that's February 28th at 7 p.m. We always record that. The other one that we have, we're doing this one on March 13th, 7 p.m. Same idea. There's only going to be 3 panelists, but these are seasoned professionals. So Ebony Wilkerson, she works for Microsoft. She is a finance director at Microsoft. Eric Leonard with Johnson & Johnson. He is the vice president of global services for Johnson & Johnson. And then Himanshu Ray is the director of finance for global supply chain with Starbucks Corporation. So these are people that are more elevated in their career. They're more seasoned. So the one that's at the end of February, these are young professionals finding out what you're going to do once you graduate. These are people that have been working for 20 plus years. How does the CMA benefit their careers? Do they have their MBA? Do they also have their CPA? What do you even do when you've hit that level in your career? This is another panel event that I highly suggest you register for. And again, there's that QR code. And then we also, so this is something, especially if you're a junior and going to be around next academic year, I would start talking to your accounting department about going to our student leadership conference. It is in Anaheim, California. Wonderful conference. It is for students. All of the speakers talk about career planning, different things that they do in accounting and finance. Your food and beverages and meals are covered with this conference. You just basically have to get there, get your hotel and register, but it is a conference that I think is wonderful for students. Probably a lot of you have never been to California. What a greater opportunity. So I would talk to your professors, your accounting department, and I will tell you something else. Schools have student activity funds. You just got to find out who that person is, and you can usually make a case for it, and you could probably get a group of you to go to California. So really something to think about, and I would do it this semester instead of waiting till the last minute. Just a tip for you. I hope you've enjoyed this. I hope you got to learn a little bit more about what IMA is as a global organization. You got to learn about our scholarships, about the CMA, and then also our new certification, the FMAA. Definitely something, you know what, I know you don't want to study during the summer, but what a neat way to get a certification while you're at home at your parents'. Instead of having to clean your room, be like, hey, I'm studying for this certification. Just leave me alone. I'm helping my career, mom and dad. That's just something I would think about. So I'm going to leave this here. Are there any other questions that I can help you with?
Any question? Any questions in person, virtually?
I have a question.
Yeah.
If you could go to your back to your college age self or any other college age student, what advice would you give them?
That is a great question. I wish I could go back to my college age self. You have no idea how much I wish that. Probably what I would tell them is what I kind of said earlier about networking. So now that I've worked in higher education, I didn't realize how much professors talk with recruiters, good ones, how much you can actually utilize your college while you're there. I mean, there is a career services for a reason, because the college wants you to get hired just as much as you want to get hired. But the more that you start putting yourself out there, talking with people, talking with professors, having them, when a certain company comes to campus and they're like, yeah, we're looking for this type of a person, if they can say like, hey, yeah, I do know a kid that might be good for this, that I never realized how much it all kind of works together. The other thing that I would say, and this is definitely something that I'm just going to say to me as a college student, I wish I did get some sort of certification or my master's or something when I was younger and had more time. I know for myself, when I was in college, I was just so ready to be done. I just wanted to make money and be a cool adult. And I didn't want to have to like write papers anymore. Really terrible decision. I wish I would have done that when I was in school. I'm not saying that you have to get an MBA or anything like that, but all of these certifications, it might not mean something to you now because you just want to get hired. But the more that your career progresses, the more those become important, and you'll never regret doing it earlier in your career. So,
Thank you.
yeah.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I'll go ahead. Thank you, Mary, for coming and speaking with us today. You had some very great information to share with us. So I know for the CPA, usually there's a college credit minimum that you have to have in order to sit. For the CMA certification, is there any of the same requirements, or you can kind of take it at any point within your college or work life career?
Correct. So I also used to work for Becker for the CPA, so I know a lot about the CPA. So, and I know that that is a big stressor about getting the A, the amount of credits, B, making sure they're the correct credits, and making sure your bachelor's degree is conferred before you're able to sit, and what state you're going to sit in. Like, it's a whole, I know how stressful that is, especially at this point in the academic year. No. So that's the good news about CMA. It is way more lax about that. So the only thing that the CMA asks is that once you pass the CMA, within 7 years, yes, 7 years, we hope that you get your bachelor's degree, which you're going to get that anyhow, and way earlier than 7 years, but that's the only requirement that we have.
Awesome.
And the other thing is, which this probably doesn't apply to Beta Alpha Psi, but technically an economics major could sit for the CMA. Weirdly, we've had a few engineers that just really like numbers. They sit for the CMA. So again, it's not as strict as the CPA.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any last minute questions? Anyone person here? Once, twice, thrice. Alrighty then. Well, thank you so much, Mary, for coming to
Yeah.
speak today about IMA. Hope everyone, learned something new today about the CMA designation, the FMA certification. And yeah, thank you so much. And here's your contact info.
Thank you. And please, even if you don't know if you want to attend the student series, I would still register for it. I'll send Jack the registration link. I think you could get a lot out of it.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, thank you so much. I will give you the rest of your night back, I guess, or your meeting.
Thank you so much, Mary.
Thank
All
you.
right. Bye,
Thank you.
Jack.
Bye. Alrighty. So that is it for this week's meeting. Next week, we will be having a job and internship fair prep workshop to prepare for the upcoming job and internship fair. It'll be coming up on the 29th of February. By the way, if anyone is interested in applying for BAP, we do have application forms up there if anyone's interested. And then, yeah, if that's all, that's it. Have a great rest of your week, and we'll see you all next week.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks.
See ya.
Take care.
Take care.